chapter, verses 1 through 4, as you find your way there. Look at where Jesus brought you from. Look at what Jesus brought you. You are living in a year that starts with a number 2. Oh, won't Jesus do it? He is great and greatly to be praised. I pray that Jesus open up our hearts and minds today that he might find root with the seed of the word, that he might find activity in the places where we are barren, that he might move whatever he need to move, touch whatever he need to touch. But Jesus, bless us today and have your way in this place. Oh, somebody say thank you, Jesus.
Thank you, Jesus.
The Bible reads Hebrews chapter 12, verse number 1 through verse number 4. Wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let's lay aside every weight and the sin which does so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us, looking unto Jesus, the author and the finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God. For consider him that endured such a contradiction of sinners against himself, lest ye be weary and faint in your mind. Ye have not yet resisted unto blood, striving against sin. Thank you, Jesus. If you would turn to someone new to you and just announce to them, not this time. Not this time. Thank you, Jesus. That oftentimes in the scripture, this life that we're living, this day-to-day life that we're living, is often compared to a race. And the Bible uses the symbolism of a race to declare to us that you got to go all the way from the starting point to the finish. That the race is not to the swift, neither is the battle to the strong, but to he that endureth until the end. That we understand our living is then compared to a race, because it's declaring just like a race, you don't just get from the beginning to the end without going through the middle. The middle would be the process. You start at the beginning, no running. At the end, running stops. All running happens in the middle. Just stay with me a little while. You only got to run, listen to this, in the middle. You only run while you're racing. When the race starts, before it starts, you're right there standing still. Nobody's running. You cross the finish line, the whistle blows, whatever, end of the race, nobody's running. So the only thing that counts in the race is what happens in the middle. That makes sense to you? That Jesus then declared the author and the finisher of our faith. So now Jesus is the one that starts it, and Jesus is the one that finishes it. That means that is his responsibility. Still with me right here? So then the only thing that you would then be responsible for is what? What happens in the middle. He said, let us run this race that is set before us. You're responsible for the running. You're responsible for what happens in the middle. That we live from faith to faith. Jesus already declared and decreed that he's the author and the finisher of our faith. He's already settled. He called those things that be not as though they were, but then you still got some responsibilities. He said that we got to run this race that is set before us. The responsibility that we have is to run. To handle the middle stuff. And the middle stuff as it is in our living, that's our everyday stuff. That's the real running. That you can't meditate about the beginning of the race while you're in the middle of the race, because your job is to run. You can't live in the end of the race while you're in the middle of the race. Listen, because you're still supposed to be running. The thing that is written here in the book of Hebrews, the thing that needs to be made apparent to us is that sometimes we have neglected our responsibilities. We have been found in a race and not running. There's been times, and he says it here, it's easy to be in the middle of a race and get thrown off. Sometimes if you forget you in a race and that you're responsible for running, you won't do what you're responsible for doing. So even though everybody else could be in the race with you and around you and they running, you're responsible to do your own running. I'm saying you got to run for yourself. That mama can't run for you, and daddy can't run for you, and preacher can't run for you, and evangelist can't run for you. You got to run this thing for yourself. Have you ever seen a race? And if you ever seen a race, you seen somebody get tripped up or fall or whatever it is, you'll notice that there's other runners, and when that person stops, they just keep on running. As a matter of fact, if they stop, people just will run right by them. Because everyone is so responsible for themselves. There's no one that can run you to the end. You got to run this thing yourself. And even though you ain't running, people are just passing you by.
All right,
and the reason why is because we have been so easily beset. He first started about the cloud of witnesses, saying you're not the first person to have to run. Everybody got to run their own race, but you know some people who love Jesus and gave their life to Jesus, that Jesus was magnified and glorified, and it is settled in faith. You know some people that have received a crown of glory. He said we got a great cloud of witnesses, but we still got to run our own race. I'm saying you know some people that finished, they loved Jesus, they prayed and they bled, they gave, they walked under grace, they lived in mercy, they moved in compassion, but you still got to run your own race. I'm trying to get this thing all the way in your understanding. There's some people even right now, you can declare, I know they were Jesus. You know anybody like that? I know they were Jesus. I know they were Jesus. Because I already seen that Jesus, he was with them. He calls this our cloud of witnesses. He's not talking about Paul and Peter. These are people you know that love Jesus. That after that you have to still then run this race. And then he said this thing. He said, let's lay aside every weight. And then the sin. And two, just like you, I was thinking sins. I got all kind of stuff that be blocking me. Not really. The only thing that blocks you is the sin.
All right.
He said that we got to lay aside every weight, all that heavy stuff that keeps you from running, or realizing your responsibility, or realizing what you're called to do, and it keeps you from running. And then he said you got to lay aside the sin. What sin? The sin of disobedience. Ultimately, all sin comes from the sin, and the sin is disobedience. The reason why Adam is appointed and called for having the first sin, because it is the original sin you'll hear it called, and it is really the only sin, and sin is disobedience. And so now Jesus has given us a new commandment, that you might love as I've loved you, Jesus said. So now you have a commandment that Jesus given. If you disobey it, that's sin. Amen. And so we find ourselves being beset, put off, out of the race, not even running, because something threw us off. Because we found ourselves in sin. Amen. And so what you got to declare then is, what happened last time can't happen this time. Here's the problem with the church. We want to pretend like we never been thrown off before. That you always just running. It's like people who pretend like they always just praying. Or you always just this one thing. How could you always be just this one thing when the Bible declares you're two things? You're never just one thing. Listen to this. You're always two things. The question is, which one will you live in? You're never going to be just one thing. You're never just faithful. You're never just holy and righteous. Never. Because you always got that other man. You always that other thing. The no good you, the lying you, the deceitful you, the mischievous you, the you that you don't like. You always also that you. And because you're also that you, that means you're never always one thing. You're never always just Jesus. Paul had to learn this the hard way. Paul said, I had to learn that my flesh is a servant to sin. He said, there's a law working in my members. A law. He said, I had to find out that when I would do good, evil is always present. I had to find out that in me, that's in my flesh, dwells no good thing. I had to find out that I'm always two things. Oh, Jesus. See, if ever we could just get real with ourselves, always two things. That means that even when you're praying, you still got this other thing. Even when you're rejoicing, still I got to be aware of this other thing. Even while I'm worshiping, I still need to be aware of this other thing, because Paul said this other thing was been messing me up. He said when I would do good, I still got to deal with this other thing. He said this evil is always constantly present. That when you find Jesus, any man who is in Christ, the Bible says he's a new creation. And then former things, old things, the other things, they then pass away. And behold, all things become new. That happens every single time I'm in Christ. Every single time. Oh, Jesus is excellent in this way every single time. The only issue I got is that I'm not always in Christ. Oh, Jesus. He's always in me. I'm not always in Jesus. When I get in Jesus, all the old stuff passes away. All things become new. I'm just not always in Jesus. Do you know what a revelation that would be if you wouldn't lie to yourself to make yourself believe that you're always in Jesus?
Amen.
How do you know when you're not in Jesus? How do you know when you're not in Jesus? Who tells you? Now you wouldn't take any outside reference to tell you you're not in Jesus. So who gets you? Who gets a hold of you when you not in Jesus? He even goes on to Hebrews 12, said those who he love he chastens. But who gets a hold of you when you are not in Jesus? It's a good question. Maybe it's one you might want to ask. If no outside person could grab you and say, listen, sister, brother, I love you, but you ain't in Jesus. Oh, Jesus. If they can't get you, who gonna get you? Who's going to get you? The Bible said that Jesus then set this example that we ought to look to Jesus so that we might know when we're not in Jesus. So then if I look to Jesus and realize I'm not in Jesus, I got to do something with myself. Because I'm now in the middle of the race, and the middle of the race again is all my responsibility. Running belongs to me. That's all my responsibility. He gives me faith, he renews my faith, and now I got to run with the faith Jesus gave me. That's all my responsibility. So then when I see myself outside of Jesus, I got to do something, listen to this, with myself. And if you're outside of Jesus and you don't do nothing with yourself, that's what throws you off. Matter of fact, that's what happened last time. That's why 98 was a blur. That's what happened in 2004. Same thing. You got thrown off. Forgot you were running. Forgot you were supposed to be in Jesus. Do you know they had it's a cartoon, and what happens in the cartoon is that the cartoon character they run and they get hit in the head, boom, something fall on their head, get dizzy, and then they start running the other track. I mean, they completely lose their direction. Once we start not understanding that we're not running, we'll start running, but not running this race. Okay, if you don't live for Jesus, you still gonna be living. But you're not really gonna be living. Jesus said, I come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. So you're gonna be doing something that looks like living, but not really experience the life that Jesus promised for. You just gonna be going through the motion. You're gonna be running on the wrong track in the wrong direction, headed the wrong way, and you can just keep going that way. And who's gonna stop you? Who's gonna correct you? Who's gonna get a hold of you? You're gonna have to get a hold of yourself. The Bible said, looking unto Jesus, who is the author and the finisher, he said that you'll get off track, you'll get beset, this sin will weigh on you, this heaviness will get on you, and you'll forget which way you run and who you're supposed to be running for and how you're supposed to be living. And even though you won't run for Jesus, you still gonna have to run. And so we haven't been running for Jesus, so guess what you've been doing? You spend most of your time running from the devil. Oh, it's getting quiet. You spend most of the time running from the enemy. Because we're not running for Jesus. We spend most of our time running from trouble. Running from sadness. Because we think that if we take the heavy thing and don't deal with the heavy thing, and then we just can run. But if we don't give that heavy stuff to Jesus, you're going to be running in circles. It's been too long and it's been too hard, because here's what has happened. Look at how much time we wasted. How much time you've been running and not going anywhere. How much time you've been running and you just been tiring yourself out. I mean, it's been hard running. Because you're trying to outrun the trouble in your day. And you said, I had just a little bit more joy than I had trouble. I had a little bit more peace than I had trouble. We're not called to just outrun trouble. Jesus gives us peace over trouble. That's a whole different kind of understanding. What it means is that we don't have to outrun trouble. Jesus gives us peace in place of trouble. You're on the wrong track. You don't have to outrun sorrow to find joy. Jesus gives you joy in place of sorrow. You're on the wrong track. And so when you have to go through the things that are in life that's called life, everybody has to go through it. That means everybody's running through it. But once you found out who Jesus was, once you found out that he's the author of your faith, you switch tracks, you change positions, you change your mind, and it's a whole new thing. Here's what Paul said. Paul said, I don't run like I'm just going through the motions. I don't fight like I'm beating the air. He said, but I got to get myself together. He said, I bring my body under subjection. And he said, I get it under me. This is what he told the church of Corinth. He said, listen, y'all sometimes lose track of how y'all running and how y'all supposed to be running. But he said, even after I'm done preaching, I got to get my body under subjection, and I get it under me that I might win the prize. I got to get myself together because I'm going after something. Amen. Because I realize there's a purpose in my running. And what we have forgotten to do, what we have neglected to do, is get ourselves together. We have allowed what happened the time before and the time before that and the time before that. That's the same thing that happened last time. And how is it not going to happen this time? How is it not going to happen this time? It started the same way. You're 17 and now here it is coming 18, and it happened in 14, happened in 12. It just keeps on happening. And you think it's everything else. It's the sun, the moon, the atmosphere. It's the devil. It's demonic spirit. No, it's you. And the reason why it's you is because you're looking at all the wrong things. I like the way it says in the Message Bible. The Message Bible says it this way: keep your eyes on Jesus.
All right.
That when you keep your eyes on Jesus, it reminds you what you're supposed to be doing, how you're supposed to be doing it, and what you're living for. It said to keep your eyes on Jesus. If I were to just do a summary of everything, every time I slipped, every time I fell off, every time I messed up, I took my eyes off Jesus. Every time I got weary and fainted in my mind thinking, why all this bad stuff got to happen to me, I took my eyes off Jesus. Every time I thought, why don't I have a friend, why don't anybody love me the right way, I took my eyes off Jesus. Every time I thought I didn't have enough help and nobody treats me right, that's when I took my eyes off Jesus. But when I keep my eyes on Jesus, here's what I'm reminded: he was wounded for my transgression, bruised for my iniquity, chastised for my peace, and with his stripes I know I've been healed. Already satisfied. It's already paid for. Jesus already paid it all. The condition has already been met. Amen. You stumbled when you took your eyes off Jesus. That's when you messed up.
Amen.
And that's when sin does beset you. Can I tell you the truth about it? That when you're running for Jesus, that doesn't mean you don't have stuff in the way.
That's right.
That ain't what messed you up.
No.
See, you believe that every time that you kept running for Jesus, you were holy, and anytime you weren't running from him, you weren't holy, but that's not it at all. That when your eyes are kept on Jesus, it doesn't mean that you are always one thing all the time. It doesn't mean that you find yourself slipping back into some old thoughts, into an old mind, but you reminded yourself, Jesus is the best thing that ever happened in my life. And then you came boldly to the throne of grace saying, Jesus, I need you. Jesus, I can't make without you. When you take your eyes off Jesus, all of a sudden you start coming up with plans, ideas, and thoughts that have nothing to do with him. And he said something very key here in Hebrews 12. Listen, he said, because you have not yet resisted sin to the shedding of blood. That's what happens when you're on the wrong track. You always talk about how hard you're working and you're trying hard to do this and trying hard not to do that. You try so hard. But it ought not be that hard. The reason why it's hard is because if you're on the wrong track, everything is heavy.
Amen.
Jesus says, my yoke is easy. So the first thing you got to get into your understanding, it's not supposed to be hard.
Amen.
It should be easy. It is hard fighting the devil. That's hard work.
Amen.
Every day I'm trying to keep the devil off me. The devil is walking about seeking who he may devour. It's hard fighting the devil. Every day you just fighting the devil.
All right, man.
Peter said, you ain't got to fight the devil. Here, listen what he said, do. Humble yourself before the mighty hand of God and then resist the devil and he'll flee from you. That sounds easy.
Amen.
He didn't say nothing about you got to fight the devil, nothing about you got to run from the devil. He said all you got to do is humble yourself before the mighty hand of God. You mean keep your eyes on Jesus.
All right.
And you ain't going to have to worry about the devil.
Amen.
He said if you do that, listen to what you'll be able to do. Not what your neighbor. Listen to what you'll be empowered to do. This is what you've been missing. He said you would be empowered. This is mind blowing. Stay with it. To resist the devil.
Amen.
Oh, Jesus.
Amen.
He said then you'll be able to resist the devil. And listen, you ain't got to run from him. The Bible said he'll run from you. Y'all want to hear me? I want you to catch this. You spend all your time, oh, the devil trying to get me this way. The devil just trying to pull you this way and pull you that way. But if you were to keep your eyes on Jesus, you could resist the devil.
Thank you, Jesus.
And then he'll run from you.
Yes, he will.
When Jesus said,
Thank you, Jesus.
when Jesus stood off the coast into the Gadarene, and the Bible said the man was possessed with many demons, and they said, what are we to do with you, Jesus of Nazareth? They said, Jesus, go away. What we ain't done nothing to you. Why do you come to bother us? They are already submitting themselves to Jesus. Jesus does not have to barter with them. He does not have to try to chase them or rebuke them. Oh, listen. Jesus is so good. All he got to do is just show up. And when Jesus show up, the devil starts making evacuation plans.
All right. Amen.
That's all the stuff you make. He don't have to share no room with the devil. He ain't got to have no co-occupancy. They ain't got to work on terms of living. When Jesus shows up, the devil got to flee.
Yes.
When Jesus shows up, the devil got to leave.
Thank you, Jesus. Amen.
That when Jesus shows up, listen to what happens now. It agitates the atmosphere.
Thank you, Jesus.
Jesus shows up off the coast, didn't say nothing. The man living there in the tombs going crazy. But when Jesus shows up, the devil comes right to where Jesus is and said, Jesus, have mercy.
Thank you, Jesus.
That you don't have to run from the devil
Thank you, Jesus.
unless you run in the wrong
Thank
way.
you, Jesus. All right. Thank you, Jesus.
Jesus has given you power over all the power of the enemy.
Thank you, Jesus.
All that stuff you making up is myths.
Thank you, Jesus.
All the devil is attacking, he is attacking. But Jesus has given us the victory.
Amen.
That here's what it is that
Thank you, Jesus.
we are doomed to repeat things that we have not learned from. Paul said that I've learned whatever state I'm in therewith to be content. The Bible said in the Old Testament, I reject you because you have rejected knowledge. Therefore I've rejected thee. Here's the issue with us is that we love Jesus and Jesus loves us, but we don't want to learn.
Amen. Well,
Experience bringing forth hope, and hope maketh not ashamed. We don't want to learn. David said that I have more wisdom than all my teachers. Listen why. He said because I made their testimony my meditation.
amen.
He said because everything they went through I learned from. The issue has been is that when it comes to us, we want to know everything. And so now we so busy selling ourselves that we know everything, we can't even learn from our own experience. And so now you still fighting devils in 2018 that you were fighting in 94. 84. Oh, Jesus. Why is that? Why would you still be running in the same place you were in 84 in 2018? Now, I know one thing about running a race. If you're going to get from the start to the finish, you got to move. And if you ain't moving, you ain't running. If for some reason you are in the same location, you have not been moving, then that is a signal to yourself that you also have not been running.
Take it on down, Bishop.
And because you've been, listen to this, stuck in place. The writer said that this sin does easily beset you. It throws you off. A better word for it is stuck. And so many of our years have been lost because we've been stuck.
Amen.
You spend the whole year angry, stuck.
All right.
The whole year not loving, stuck. The whole year not forgiving, stuck. The whole year not denying yourself, stuck.
That's right.
And you right there stuck in place, and you think nobody's running because you running and ain't moving nowhere. The problem is everybody's just passing you by.
All right.
Amen.
I think the real issue is that the real issue and the real part that causes me hesitation, and she calls all of us hesitation, is this. Who gets a hold of you? Who arrests you? Who indicts you when it is that you find yourself outside of Jesus?
All right.
Oh, gee, how long does it normally take before you say, wait a minute, I'm outside of Jesus?
Amen, Bishop.
Jonah was 3 days, the Bible said, and 3 nights. Listen, the Bible describes where Jonah was in the belly of hell. He was in the belly of a great fish.
Oh, yes.
And so they drew a picture and said, oh, the great fish was a whale. Whale is not a fish. So it's more accurate that the great fish that he would have been in would have been more like a shark. That's the biggest fish.
Amen.
And so Jonah now, imagine, because it just says great fish, so we just going to change our imagination a little bit. Now he's not in a great big old shark, he's in a great big old whale, he's in a shark.
That's right.
And there he's for 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of hell. Until finally he comes back to his understanding. He looks again to that holy temple. He changes his mind. Nobody gets a hold of Jonah. Jonah is pulled in something now that looked like it was going to destroy him, but instead it was keeping him. And now still it took Jonah there inside of hell, the Bible called it, 3 days and 3 nights before he changed his mind.
Oh, yes.
The part that don't make any sense to me is that if you were in that situation just for 1 minute, it seemed like you cry out, Jesus, I need you.
Amen.
If you were in there for 1 hour, surely you'd be, Jesus, I need you.
Yes.
One whole day goes by,
Come on, Jesus. Amen.
and still you're there. Jesus, I need you.
Yes.
Let me add to the part is that he's in it and he's not dying. There's time where the Bible simply declares that when it comes to hell, hell has torment. That's what makes it damnation. It has torment. The problem with this is that so if it was death, everything ceases. It wouldn't be torment. So now the problem with Jonah is not that he's dead. The problem is that he's in the middle of hell. He's going through torment. He won't die. He's alive. And he's not tired enough to say, Jesus, I need you. So if he's alive and he's going through torment, he's struggling. Oh, Jesus, stay with me right here. He's struggling. He's inside of the shark. He's struggling for 3 days and 3 nights. So the question now becomes to you and I, how long are you going to struggle?
Come on, Bishop.
He's struggling 3 days, 3 nights, ain't prayed once. Jesus. He's struggling 3 days, 3 nights. He ain't called on Jesus one time. The Bible said it wasn't until he got to the end of it that he got back to his right understanding. Realized he'd been running in the wrong direction. Same thing with you, except it takes you long. 3 years and 3 months. 3 decades. Jesus.
All right. Amen.
How long will you run in the wrong direction? How long are you going to struggle with it until you finally say, Jesus, I need you? He said, I returned, his understanding came back again, and he looked again to thine holy temple, which simply means he got his eyes back on Jesus. As soon as you take your eyes off Jesus, you trip up every single time.
Amen.
I can talk about long periods of time. I'm talking about any day. Any day you mess up and take your eyes off Jesus, prepare for a bad day. Because there's always sufficient evil in your day. It's just when you keep your eyes on Jesus, he'll keep you running.
That's right.
Jude said, unto him who's able to keep you from falling. That's what Paul wrote to Jude. He said, he's able to keep you. He keeps you running
Yes, he does.
Amen.
when you want to run. Now, when it is that you have not been running and you've been going through the motions, you've been going in circles, you've been running backwards, sideways, zigzags, doing jumping jacks, whatever it is, and you've not been running, but you have made up your mind that you are a runner, that only means that you have been lying to yourself. When you make up your mind that you are something that you are not transmitting, Jesus said it's not what goes in a man, but what comes out of man that defiles him. When you make up your mind that you are not what it is that you put out, Jesus said the tree is known by the fruit that it bears. When you make up in your mind that you are something that you are not producing, you lie to yourself.
Amen.
You lie to yourself.
Yes.
And the truth is not in him. You lie to yourself. The Bible said if you say you have no sin, then you lie to yourself.
Yes.
The thing is that whatever you're producing is coming out of you.
Oh,
Come on,
yes.
Bishop.
Oh, yes.
The thing that makes you a runner is because you run.
That's right.
The thing that makes you a believer is because you believe.
Yes.
The thing that makes you a giver is because you give. If these things are not coming out of you, then these things are not who you are. Now stop right there. There's some other stuff coming out of you.
Yes.
That's who you are.
Come on, Bishop.
Say, well, you ain't gonna call me? Well, I'm not calling you a liar. I'm saying that's what's been coming out of you.
All right. Amen.
I'm not calling you a hater. I'm saying that's what's been coming out of you.
Amen.
And because this stuff been coming out of you, you can call yourself whatever you want to, but the tree's known by the fruit.
Come on now.
How can I come to you for love if ain't no love coming out of you? And you shouting, I'm a love tree. Come get some love. There's no love to get.
Break it on down, Bishop.
So if everybody else can see then by the fruit, and the tree is known by the fruit, the only person that's being lied to is you.
Amen.
All right.
That everyone else can see you not loving, but somewhere in your heart, you've lied to yourself to make yourself believe that you're something you are not.
That's it.
I know that's hard, but that's called the hard truth.
All right. All right.
That's why the Bible said while you're standing at the looking glass, while you in the reflection of the word, you have to make the correction then because you know to lie to yourself.
That's right.
You can lie to yourself for years.
Amen.
You'll love two people and say, I love everybody. Because we are conditioned to lie. So he's talking about running this race, and we're talking about bringing our body under subjection, and we're talking about all these things. What we're really talking about is discipline. Discipline is the word for training. Now, when you are disciplined or training, this is for one particular task. You don't have to train for everything because you don't do everything. If you go to your job and they got your job, they train you for the job you're going to do. So all you got to do is discipline yourself or train yourself for that job.
That's right.
You don't train yourself for somebody else's job because you ain't going to do their job. It makes no sense. You don't have to discipline yourself to do what they do because you don't do what they do. You only have to be trained or disciplined to do what it is that you're accounted to do.
Yes.
And so now he said we're accounted to run, so therefore we discipline ourselves, we train ourselves to be runners. No matter what happens, I gotta run. No matter who comes against me, I gotta run. No matter what I gotta deal with, I gotta run. That's what I'm called to do.
Yes.
Amen.
Right.
So I discipline myself. Paul said, so I get my flesh under me.
Yes.
So I bring my body into subjection. I discipline myself so I might finish the race.
Amen.
Thank you, Jesus.
You don't have the training or the discipline.
Amen.
That's what they'll say if it is that you're supposed to do a 5K and you only can go 1K, they'll say you ain't got the discipline to finish.
All right.
You don't have the training to finish. You're not equipped to finish. And because you're not, wherever it is that you stop, you'll call that the finish.
Uh-huh.
But Jesus is the author and the finisher.
Thank you, Jesus.
And he that begun a good work in you will perform it until that day. That means he don't finish when you say finish.
Thank you, Jesus.
He's the finisher.
Amen.
You thought because you prayed good them last 2 years, you ain't got to pray for the next 2 years. Jesus is the finisher.
Yes,
That your job is to run. So you discipline yourself or train yourself to run every single day. That's your only job, to run.
Amen.
I can't let this thing throw me off. I'm a runner. I got to eat the right thing, do the right thing. I'm a runner. I can't let the condition throw me off. I'm called to run. that because we have lost our understanding, lost our calling, if you will, we just make stuff up.
Sure do, Bishop.
And you think that somehow you're called to do something other than run. I ran long enough. Who told you that? I've come far enough. Who told you that?
All right.
Oh, I done did this and did that. It's somebody else's turn. Who told you that? You got to run until it's finished. That's why you can't retire from Jesus.
All right.
You got to run until it's finished. And Jesus tells he tells Paul, I'm going to use you until it's finished. Tells Peter, I'm going to use you until it's finished. Same with us. He's going to use us until it's finished.
Thank you, Jesus.
That because we have not allowed ourselves to get a hold of ourselves, we just let ourselves be whatever we want ourselves to be, and we will not keep our eyes on Jesus. Keep our eyes on Jesus. That is what lets you know when you are tripping.
Amen.
That's what lets you know when you are messed up. That's when you come back to your right mind. That's what you realize what you did when you were in your wrong mind. But when you're in your wrong mind, follow me right here, everything looks right.
Amen.
That's why you did it. Seemed like the right thing to do.
Oh, yes.
Seemed like the right decision. They want to fight you, you want to fight them, y'all fight. Made perfect sense to you.
Yeah.
Amen.
They hit you, you hit them back. Perfect sense. They steal from you, you go looking for them. All of it just it made sense in that mind. But when you get into the right mind, you then realize what you were not doing. That while you were trying to avenge yourself, you weren't loving them. While you were trying to uplift yourself, you weren't forgiving them. You forget what you weren't doing
Amen.
until you come to your right mind. That you can spend a whole lot of years not running. And listen to this, nobody is going to say anything. And the reason why they're not saying anything is because you're not going to listen anyway. If anybody ever tried, you won't listen. That there's many things that people can witness to you about. I mean, there's many things that people can tell you, but this thing that you are not what you think you are, that's just a hard sell. That's just hard to tell somebody, listen, I know you think you're running. You got on running clothes, running shoes, but you are not a runner. Oh, Jesus. And if you're going to be a runner, you're going to have to change some stuff. You're going to have to recondition yourself. You're going to have to get in shape to run. You just can't come and run like this. People don't want to hear that.
All right.
Say, well, if you're going to run, are you prepared to go all the way? You say, yeah, I'm prepared to go all the way. I got a 1K in me. I can go all the way. I'm going to go fast for the point I'm going to run. But that's the problem. In order to be it, you have to be it all the time. So that if you are this thing, listen to this, if you are this thing, then you're this thing in, like Paul said, in whatever state I'm in. So now he said, I have learned in whatever state I'm in, I'm still a runner.
That's right.
I learned in whatever state I'm in, I still love Jesus. I learned how to be hungry and to be full. When I'm hungry, I'm running. When I'm full, I'm running. I know how to have abundance and to suffer lack. When I got it, I'm running. When I don't got it, I'm still running. Everywhere and in all things, I am instructed.
Amen.
Jesus, keep me from fall. All I got to do is keep my eyes on Jesus, and I can keep running.
Oh, yeah.
All I got to do is keep my eyes on Jesus, and I can keep on running. The Bible says that we should run the race with patience. That means to run without complaining. And here is the key evidence when your race has been thrown off. Anything can throw it off. Bad weather, bad people, bad climate, if you will, bad atmosphere is a better word for it. Condition ourselves or be trained or disciplined to run our race with patience. That doesn't mean run slow. That means run knowing that we have to be able to give Jesus thanks for everything. Patience by definition means to endure without complaint.
All right.
In everything give thanks. For this is the will of God concerning us. That we learn now through our patience that no matter what, Jesus is still good to me. On those days where you weren't thanking Jesus, oh, you were thrown off. David said, I'll bless the Lord at all times. His praise shall continually be in my mouth. On those days when you weren't praising Jesus, you were thrown off. You don't need anybody else to catch you. You got to catch yourself. On the days you thought you didn't have anything to be thankful for, you were thrown off, my friend. On the days when you didn't say, Jesus, I love you, you were thrown off. On the days when you didn't declare, Jesus, I can't make without you, you were thrown off. And soon and very soon, you have to make the decision that even though you were thrown off last time, you're prepared not to get thrown off this time.
Amen.
Because what happened last time came because you were unprepared. And he said, this sin is such easily beset us. He said, you have to lay it aside. That means that you won't be able to be removed from it. It's coming, but what you going to do with it this time? He said that we have to learn or discipline ourselves to be able to lay it aside. Last time it threw you off. If it's not going to throw you off this time, you got to be able to lay it aside. That nothing changes my mission from running. When the little kids go, and we had the kids in little kids soccer, and they go to little kids soccer, it's funny to watch because they are easily distracted. And so some of the game is just sitting out there, and they just sitting out there, and you'll see them. They'll start picking up rocks, chasing butterflies, running around in circles. You don't know what they do. They just get distracted, and all of a sudden they got a whole new mission, and it has nothing to do with the game. They got a whole new purpose, their own purpose. They don't care who's hollering at them, yelling. They still doing whatever it is they're doing because they have a new assignment that they make it up themselves. Because they're young and they're not disciplined. And when you are disciplined, you're disciplined not to be moved by distractions.
Amen. Amen.
So when butterflies come, I'm still running. I see a nice shiny rock, but I'm still running. I cannot allow what distracted me last time to distract me this time. Are you hearing what I'm saying? That's what threw me off before. I was undisciplined, so when the distraction came, I didn't know how to get my body under subjection. I didn't know how to keep my eyes on Jesus. I was thrown off. Not just a little off, listen, all the way off. All the way off. When you get thrown off, all the way off. Can you imagine that you said you working for Jesus, you running for Jesus, you got a job right now, you work, they pay you, everything is working out fine. Go tell them you're taking the rest of the year off. Tell them I'm taking the rest of the year off, but I'm going to want my pay to come regularly. And they will tell you we're going to find somebody else to do the job that you should have been doing. Because if you don't work, then you shouldn't eat. But when it comes to Jesus, somehow you think you can just take the rest of the time off. Yeah, go to him, tell him what's the day of 14. I spent the first 14 days working hard. I'm going to take the rest of the year off. That's what we do. I prayed 2 Sundays. I'm going to take the rest of these off. But no, not only do we want to take them off, we want the pay to come in regularly. Bless me, keep me, renew me, restore me. You got a whole lot of stuff you want, but not a whole lot of things you're willing to do. The Jesus has only one thing, one commandment, one assignment, that we run, that we love. And if we can run and love, we're going to be all right. The Bible said that all commandments are fulfilled in the one commandment. That's all you got to do. The thing is, you get thrown off. And you get thrown off easily. And we don't learn from our mistakes. We don't learn from our disappointment. We don't learn from our failures like we should. Churches can be a pretty crazy place because we'll keep doing the same thing. Even though it messed up, didn't work last time, we'll keep doing the same thing. Even though it was disastrous last time, we'll keep doing the same thing. We never say, look, I got to do better than this. Tell the story and I'm finished. There was when I was little, I could run really fast. Fast. I mean fast. Gone. Fast. Run. On track team running fast. Run so fast. Listen to this. I ran so fast. Here's how good I was, y'all. I didn't have to train.
All right.
No practice needed.
All
I'm ready
right.
to run.
Come on, Bishop.
And not only did I run fast, but I ran fast and I ran faster than everybody else. So I knew I was all right.
All right.
So no training needed.
Just get them to win.
I'm so fast, I don't even got to stretch. Just run.
Okay.
So there, when we was running track, there's this one little boy. We're all little boys. There's this one little boy, and he wanted to race. I mean, one time we had a race. I turned around backwards, fell down. I still beat him. So we race again. He said, "Oh, race me." I race him, beat him. We race again. I say, "Look, I'm not interested in racing. I'm gonna give you a head start. Give him a head start, beat him." I mean, every time beat him. It got bad. I see him at the store, have on dress shoes. He say, "Let's race." I'll race him, beat him. I mean, just beat him every time. But what I didn't notice is that while I wasn't training, he was training.
All right. All right.
And every time I was beating him by a little less every time. So then one time now, he running for his place, I'm running for my place. He see me, say, "Let's race." And he races me and beats me. And I say, "Oh, something must be wrong. Maybe it's my shoes." I stretch out, we go again. I say, let's race again, because surely he can't beat me. I beat him every single time. Not even one time he beat me. Not even half a time. Not even close. Beats me. Beats me in the race. I race him again, he beats me. I race him again, he beats me. And what I realized today that I didn't realize then is that while I was not training, he was training. And getting better. And getting better. And getting better. Because his job was then to win. He said, "All right, now I see what happened last time. I failed last time. I got to work a little harder this time because my job is to win." But here's what is amazing to me. All that time, I wasn't training. Do you know what happened when he beat me? I immediately started training. Because I said, now my goal is to beat him. What the problem has been with us is that we have not learned from our failures. You're going to let the devil beat you last time like he did this time, and you ain't got no better. I tell you what, he might go through last time like he did this time, but I will not complain. I will not be crying, because Jesus is working on me, and I'm getting better, and I'm getting stronger, and he built me up. And thanks be to our Lord Jesus Christ, who has given us the victory. I'm going to win this thing. I'm going with Jesus all the way. My heart has been fixed. My mind has been made up. I'm going to do whatever I got to do. But I will win Christ. Are there any witnesses in here? See, people know you. They know you from back before. You ought to tell them I've been working. I've been getting stronger. I've been leaning on Jesus. And what happened last time ain't gonna happen this time. Jesus been dealing with me. He's been blessing me. He's been keeping me. And my mind is made up. You remember before? Before the devil do something, have you in a full depression? Not this time. Jesus been working on me. Been dealing with me. Been building me up. I'm stronger now. I'm better now. I ain't gonna lose this time. Before you found me, I wasn't even running. But now, when you become something, not only that becomes what you do, listen, that becomes all you do. That becomes your singular purpose. That's why Paul said, I ain't running just like I'm going through the motions. I'm trying to win this thing. That becomes my singular purpose. Every day I'm getting prepared to race. Every day I got to run a little faster. Every day I got to get a little better. I need Jesus to work on me. I tell you what, those are the people that are getting passed by. They made up their mind they ain't got to get no better. They ran good. They felt good. They looked good. But while they're not working, while they're not getting better,
Come on, Bishop.
I'm saying, Jesus, build me up. Tear down whatever you got to tear down. Remove whatever you got to remove. I'm giving it all to you. And I'm saying, Jesus, thank you already for the victory. Thank you already for the recovery. Thank you already for the restoration. That when it is that you're sick, but you're still a runner, you can say, I still seek my Jesus. When you're hungry, but you're still a runner, my Jesus. When you're thirsty, but you're still a runner, Jesus. Jesus said, blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled.
Yes, you will.
They got the song say, victory, victory shall be mine. All I got to do is keep my eyes on Jesus. If I just hold my peace and let Jesus fight my battle, I know he keeps me running. I know what he prepared me to do. Do you know what happens when you get to a race that you've been training for? I can tell you from experience. Here's what happens: confidence.
That's right.
Amen.
Because you say, I trained for this. I've been working on this. I've been getting my mind together. All I gotta do is go through what I've been training for. I didn't discipline myself for this. This is my day.
Thank you, Jesus.
Jesus said,
Amen.
what shall I say to this hour?
That's right.
He's talking about now his crucifixion. He said, what shall I say to this hour? Take this cup from me. He said, but for this reason, for this hour, came I into the world. I'm prepared for this. This is what I've been training for. I know the devil attacking some other people. This is what I've been training for. This is what Jesus has been working on me for. This is what he's been building me up for. I'm prepared for this. Jesus said, if he come, no man take my life, but I lay it down. And if I lay it down, I got the power to pick it back up again. I've been preparing for this. That's what you forgetting. You thinking that somehow all this other stuff supposed to miss you and there won't be any trouble and the sin won't try to beset you. That's what the training is for. So that way when it happens this time, you can say, I've been training for this. I don't expect everybody to get hit with it. Everybody ain't been training for it. Everybody's not going to get on the track to run. They ain't been training, but I've been getting prepared. I've been working day and night. Do you know that if you ever do any kind of emergency situation, it's not that you are planning on emergency every day. There's days where you won't do nothing. Training days. Those days you're supposed to be working, getting prepared. You go over what you would do in case of. They say if a fire break out, do this, do that. You're just working on it. I mean, it must look awful silly. You're just climbing building, no fire. Climbing ladders, running around, all that stuff. Not a fire anywhere. But you're getting prepared. And if a fire do break out, you say, I'm ready for you. I've been working on it. All that stuff that look like it's going through the mud, I've been working on it. I've been praying and Jesus keep me in my right mind. Not because the enemy attacking me, but if he do attack, I'm ready for it. Not because there's a mercy, but if ever mercy do break out, I'm ready for it. That when an emergency does occur, I'm calling somebody who got the proper training.
Come on, Bishop.
There's a reason why when the fire break out, you call the fire department. Because they've been trained to do what you can't do.
Amen.
When it's time to have to do battle with the enemy, when it's time to go through trial and tribulation, I need somebody who got the proper training. Who's prepared to run. I don't want you just praying for me cold. I want you to already be prayed up. I want you to already be conditioned. When you pray for me, I want you to be praying is what I do every day. Believing is what I do every day. That when it comes time to have faith, I don't want you to have to muster up your faith. I want you to have some now faith. And now faith is and is able. That because that's who we're called to be. I'm asking before we leave out of here, you got to take a real evaluation of who you are right now. Jesus said the problem with Laodicea is that they are naked and hungry and blind. But that's not what they believe they are. They say that they are whole and entire and don't need anything. Oh, Jesus. Jesus says, I see who you really are. But that's not who you believe yourself to be. He said, listen, I wish you were in contact with who you really were. Because all you would have to do is just ask me. And I would give you eyesight so you can see good. Food so you wasn't hungry. Clothes so you weren't naked. I would satisfy your needs. the first thing you got to do is come into reality with who you really are. Because how can Jesus satisfy your need if you don't have it? How can he fix it if it's not broken? How can he make it better if you're already the best?
All right.
He said, all you have to do is say, I'm blind, Jesus, I need you. I'm hungry, Jesus, I need you. I'm naked, Jesus, I need you. Jesus, I need you. And he will supply every one of your needs. And Jesus will supply every one of your needs. That's been the problem. You ain't been giving them the stuff you need. Jesus, I need you. I don't know how to make it through no Mondays. Jesus, I need you. I don't know how to navigate through Tuesdays. Jesus, I need you. And whenever you give him need, he covers. He said, if you would ask me, not even beg me, if you would ask me, I would cover you.
Thank you, Jesus.
If you ask me, I'll bless you. If you ask me, I would do it for you. That you are not ascended that high that you don't still need Jesus.
Amen.
All right.
You know, sometimes people think it's an insult to say, Jesus, I need you. They don't want to be the one in need of prayer. They don't want to be the one in need of, I'm already all right. They got some kind of special relationship with Jesus where they don't need Jesus. But when you are acquainted with your needs, Paul said, in my body I bear the marks of the dying of the Lord Jesus. I'm acquainted with how much I need him. Wounded for my transgression, bruised for my iniquity. I'm acquainted with how much I need him every single day. That you can talk about me, but Jesus, I need you.
Yes, Jesus.
I need him before every conversation. I need him in every relationship. I need him before I open any door. I need him before I walk through any new day. Jesus, I need you. And when you need him like that, you'll find out he's good and faithful. Let's go ahead and be anointed. Oh, God is faithful and will not suffer you to be tempted above that you're able to bear.
Amen.
But with every temptation,
Every temptation.
Way to escape.
makes a way to escape that ye might be able to bear it. I'm a runner. I'm made for this. I'm supposed to love. I'm Jesus, people. I'm built to love. Doesn't mean that we don't have sin. Means sin can't throw us off. I can't let sin throw me off. I got a purpose already. I got a mission already. I got a plan already. I can't let this throw me off. That's the reason why I got to forgive you. I can't let this thing throw me off. That's the reason why I got to keep loving you. I can't let this throw me off.
Thank you, Jesus. Oh, yeah.
Not until it's finished.
Amen.
When it's finished, here's the good news. You cease from all labor.
Oh, thank you, my Jesus.
No more running. But until then, I'm built to run.
Thank you, my Jesus.
Now I know I can't run alone.
Oh, yes. Thank you, my Jesus.
Jesus said he'll never leave me nor forsake me.
That's right.
Sometimes when you're running, the unexpected happening. Even though you've been training, it's something hits you and you feel like you can't run no more. They that wait on the Lord, they shall mount up with wings as of eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Jesus specializes. Jesus, he specializes. Sometimes the unexpected does happen, but if you trust in Jesus, keep your eyes on Jesus.
Amen.
He specializes. He'll make sure that you run and don't get weary. He specializes.